And now we will learn how to set the preferences in an attorney's company file. What are preferences? Well, in QuickBooks, when we say preferences, what we really mean are the defaults of the way the software will behave unless you specifically say different. You could also call them the settings of the file or the options that are available. Basically, it's the automatic behavior of the file until you specifically tell QuickBooks you want it to behave differently. Some preferences are for convenience, and we will change some preferences for convenience, and some preferences are necessary to activate the features of the software that attorneys need. And we'll activate one of them here in this video, and this will give you an overview of how to do it. The first preference for convenience that we will change is the warning a message about the dates of the transactions. You know, sometimes you have to put in very old transactions that you missed, or for some reason date a transaction far in the future. It might be necessary to do so, but there's a warning message that pops up. I don't like it, I want to shut it off. So, from the main menu, we click Edit, Preferences, and that opens the Preferences window. Notice on the left you can click to get the different categories of preferences, and you can even scroll up and down so that you can see every category. And every time you click on a different category, your choices in the middle change. The first category we will click on is the accounting category, and you'll notice that in each category there's a My Preference tab and a Company Preference tab. In the accounting category, click the Company Preference tab and remove these two check marks. This way the computer will not warn us if we record a transaction that's more than 90 days old or 30 days in the future. We have to click OK to save the preference after each preference that we change. Now let's change the desktop view to our convenience. Again, click Edit, Preferences, and this time the category is Desktop View. I think you should remove the home page because I find it distracting, and we will be using something even easier than the home page that we will set up in the very next video. I also don't want to save whatever you have open on the desktop. That might take it unnecessarily longer to boot the next time you start QuickBooks. So those are the preferences we're changing in this section, and we click OK. Now, we're also changing the pop-up ads. In the general category of preferences, we can shut off all those distracting ads. Edit, Preferences, click the general category, make sure you're not in the Company Preference tab, you're in the My Preference tab, and you're going to click this box, Turn off pop-up messages for products and services. Switching that preference will help prevent distracting you while you're trying to learn QuickBooks. And of course, to save this option or this default, we click OK. What else will we change? Well, we want to make the reports and graphs refresh automatically if they happen to be open at the moment we record a transaction. So we will click Edit, Preferences, and go to Reports and Graphs, and we want them to update the report information automatically on any report that happens to be open at the moment we record a transaction. And that's what it will do now that we change this preference. Click OK. Now we will discuss two specific preferences that a law firm would need. And if your law firm runs a little bit differently, you might need to set another preference. At least you'll know where the window is. But right now, most law firms need to adjust the payments deposited to bank accounts preference so that you have the ability to record transactions when clients deposit money directly into the law firm's bank account. The way to give QuickBooks the ability to do that is to click Edit, Preferences, and go to the Payments category of preference. Then choose Company Preference and go here where it says Use Undeposited Funds as the Default Deposit to Account. If we remove this check mark, QuickBooks will give us the ability to record payments that are directly deposited into the company bank account, into the law firm bank account. And there will be a separate video about undeposited funds later in the course. For now, let's just click OK. And of course, the last preference we'll discuss, we won't really change anything, but very often law associates who work for the firm need to track their time and expenses, and sometimes expenses paid for things like supplies and travel can be charged to the client as billable and marked up. In order to do that, you would come here, Edit, Preferences, and you would scroll down to the very last preference, Time and Expenses. When you click the Company Preference tab, you'll notice you have the option to track time, which is actually set as default. You also can mark all time entries as billable by default when your law associates, the lawyers that work for the firm, fill out their weekly or bi-weekly or monthly timesheets. And then, of course, if you charge expenses like supplies and travel to your client, and you wish to mark up the expense before you charge them, you would do that here. But again, that would be only if you were allowed to, and every state has different regulations about how lawyers can charge their clients. So that's the general idea of preferences, and if your law firm needs additional preferences, you'll know where to go and what to do.